Welcome back to Franchise Nation for season number 4 of the New Orleans Saints franchise. It is the preseason, and this video is all about the offense and the system that we are building for this team. You're not going to see any DeAndre Hopkins or Raheem Blackmon in this preseason. They are going to play probably a combined 15 total downs across 4 games just because of pass blocking or, the game having some weird situations like that. But they will not be targeted, they will not be running the ball, receiving, any of things like that. They are staying on the sideline because they are too invaluable to this team. Michael Wong is going to play very minimally. He'll play maybe 2 games, a quarter each, just to get some of the rust off. He is still only a second-year player. We kind of forget that. He did suffer an injury to end the season last year, but he's worked incredibly hard to get back into shape and actually get better. One of the things that he's been doing this offseason is he has been working with Raheem Blackmon and his running coach to help lengthen his strides a little bit, make the most out of his speed. And you can already tell that he looks faster. It wasn't exactly something that he had going for him at first, but he's not a speed demon by any means. But he is a faster quarterback than he was last season. He was able to run and make some plays already, but now we might be able to see him actually get into space and convert on those third downs instead of, scrambling and getting stopped shy of the sticks. Whatever it may be, he is definitely faster and he looks better. His accuracy needs to get back on track. He is a little bit rusty throwing, but that's not too bad. On to the running back position. One of the things that we're going to do this season is we are going to cut down Raheem Blackmon's workload a little bit. Because he is so valuable to this team, we don't want to burn him out. So one of the things that we're definitely going to do is he is going to be used on third down, but it's the downs prior to that he's going to have less snaps on. So he might not get as many carries, but he'll still be as involved in the offense as ever. That's why we have Darius Jackson and Tavio Hoyt. Jackson and Hoyt are both power-type backs. Jackson has a little bit more speed than Hoyt, but both of them can get the ball and convert on some runs every now and again, which can really help us out. Having that power guy be able to go between the tackles and that sort of thing really just helps open up the offense. And you're probably going to see a lot of Raheem Blackmon when we work out of the gun. Whether it be passing or running, he'll be in some single back sets. But when it comes to the 12 personnel where you have the fullback on the field, you're going to see a lot of Hoyt and you're going to see a lot of Darius Jackson. Now that leaves an opening from Frank Carter, and Carter really is the odd man out of the grouping. He just isn't good enough at anything to be a staple for this offense, really in any capacity. So we're probably not going to keep him around. Antoine Whiting is going to maintain our 4th running back spot. We don't want to keep him involved in the run game because he's too valuable as a returner. So, there's some different things like that. But moving forward, Jamize Olawale is set. I think that's pretty clear. At fullback, and then at wide receiver, it gets interesting because we have a ton of options. Rashad Maxey is really, really good. I mean, he's a late round pick, but he's already playing with a lot of savvy. He's a good route runner, has great hands, and he really, throughout this preseason, has secured himself the opportunity to be the 4th wide receiver on roster. Now, you might be wondering about Hopkins and Clements and Thomas. But one of the things that needs to be said is they have considered themselves the 3 amigos since DeAndre Hopkins came into town. They are inseparable and they play better together than anything else. They've all become very good friends with each other. They hang out all the time. Their lockers are next to each other. I mean, this trio of wide receivers is something special because not only are they willing to pass up a game where they'll have 5, they'll be okay with a game where they'll have 2 receptions for 20 yards. If somebody else is getting 7 for 150, if they have a better assignment or a better matchup. That's the tight-knit group that this wide receiver grouping has become, the 3 amigos out there. And this season we're going to be running a lot more of the wide receiver sets. We're going to be running a little bit less of the twin tight ends of the fullback sets with Jamize Olawale. And one of the things that definitely helped inspire that is we now have wide receivers across the board that we can rely on. Jaron Brown kind of is the odd man out at wide receiver. He was our number 4 last year, but I just don't think that he's as good. He's also getting older. I don't think he's as good as Maxey or Pinnock or Hardy. And Justin Hardy looks like he's going to secure a very solid 5th wide receiver role for us. I think Pinnock's probably going to end up on the practice squad just because of the fact that he has room to grow. But I really do like the way that things are shaping up for this grouping. And the wide receivers, because we have so much depth here, you're going to start seeing a little bit more 4 wide, 5 wide, and with actual wide receivers, not just tight end. We took some examples from the New England Patriots playbooks that we've seen over the years. We did hire one of their offensive coaches to the staff in the offseason. We had an opening, and he actually is going to be our tight ends coach. So that's a good thing to have with us. He has some of the... While he obviously worked with the tight ends, it doesn't mean that he doesn't know the play calling and that sort of thing. So we found a few examples of plays that could really benefit for us where we spread things out, go 5 wide. You're not going to see much of it in this preseason because we don't want to divulge too much information. But just know that we are going to try some of those things out and see where it goes from there. Secondly, though, we have to talk a little bit about the offensive line. At tight end, we're set. DeMarcus Edens is the starter, Naquan Oliver is the backup, but we don't really have that 3rd tight end. Arsenault's all right, but the guy who we really wanted, Heath Bauman, signed with the Bears immediately after the draft, which is really unfortunate because we really wanted him. He's a good run blocker. If there is an opportunity where we can get him in the near future, then we will, but I think for now we'll just stick with what we have. And then it's the offensive line. The offensive line is an interesting grouping because we have the staple left tackle in Teron Armstead. Traylon Kraft is a good left guard, and David Krenzel has emerged already as an excellent center. I mean, he is really dynamic up the middle, and he's really helped us out. But the things that we have to consider moving forward are, of course, right tackle, right guard. Raphael Ragland, late round pick, looked great in camp. Looked absolutely spectacular in training camp, looked really good in general. And that gives us the opportunity to say, okay, well, is he good enough to start over some of these guys? And the answer is, for a rookie, we'll keep him on the bench for now. But Corey Stuvon's definitely struggled at times, especially in pass protection last year. So that's something to keep an eye on. And at right tackle, we are starting a rookie. Roman Kalu will be starting. So the 4th round pick out of UAB, or 3rd round pick out of UAB, definitely a player who we really like. And he has the strength and he has the size to really fill that role to perfection. So I think he's probably going to maintain that spot for us. And from that being said, I think the overall team looks good on offense. During the preseason, though, scoring was not something that we exactly thrived in. It doesn't matter. We didn't win a game in the preseason. We went 0-4, but it's because we were really testing things out. We weren't exactly going with our best plays in different situations. We didn't want to expose too much. But at the same time, we did have a good game plan. And Zach Nassib, if you remember him out of Louisville from a few years back, he is going to be cut by the Ravens, who had 8 quarterbacks on roster, and we are going to sign him as a quarterback. We're cutting Zach Mettenberger, and Nassib's going to compete with Ripkowski for that backup spot. They actually have known each other for a few years, and it's really funny because Nassib decided to play a little bit of a prank, and he put on a Wesley Ripkowski-esque blonde hair wig for this preseason game. So you can see the golden locks just flowing out the back of his helmet. Just a little bit joke to his friend, longtime friend actually. They grew up in the same town together, went their separate ways. One went to Central Michigan, one went to Louisville. But either way, the opportunity arose to bring him on when the Ravens decided to cut him and cut down their roster a bit. And we brought him in because we think that he's probably a little bit better than Wesley at this moment. He has better accuracy, a little bit faster. I mean, he's a good quarterback, just not starter caliber. He'd probably be like a good quality backup. And Wesley's probably about an average quality backup. His accuracy issues are really the biggest problem for us. So I think Nassib's going to compete with him for that number 2 spot. But with Nassib on the team, we have our 3 quarterbacks that we need for this season. So with that being said, some of the other spots that we have to worry about are obviously our back end of the wide receivers, because we do have a lot of them. We have J.J. Adkins, we have Trey Lassiter, Pinnock, and I really like Lassiter, not so much as a guy who could emerge to be a star, but he does have the height to it. He does have some pretty good hands. I don't know. We have a lot of good players, and I always hate making cuts. It's always the hardest part. But I think when all things are said and done, the fact that we have so much talent on offense is a good thing, rather than, it's an unfortunate truth that when you have so much talent that you kind of have to make those difficult cuts. But regardless, I think we have a pretty good grasp on the team. If we can get another tight end, more power to us to replace Arsenault. I know it's kind of terrible to say that, but we really don't want him on offense. It's just a little much. He's just not that good. I'd rather get somebody who's a little bit better of a blocker, a little bit faster too, than maybe, and see what we can do from there. The overall stats are in, and Zach Nassib looked pretty solid. The run game was a little bit weak, but we did run a lot more with the second-string offensive line, and, when that happens, it's not really dependable. Rashad Maxey got a lot of touches and proved his worth in this preseason. Trey Lassiter did have one reception. Roger Lewis Jr. really had no impact for us, and really isn't worth it. But here is the overall depth chart to start the season. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of Jackson and Hoyt, a lot more than we've seen in the past of backup running backs. It's Hopkins, Clements, Thomas, Maxey, Justin Hardy, and then Arsenault for this moment in time. Edens, Oliver, Armstead, Kraft, who is still a very good player out of USF, Krenzel out of Florida, then Stuvance, and then Roman Kalu. We do sign Nick Perry from the Tennessee Titans practice squad, 78 speed, 74 run block, good impact, and we are going to cut Sean Arsenault. I will be doing the defensive preview later today, and I'll show all of the cuts and all that sort of thing later. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Moonlightswami, and I'll be seeing you guys later today. Peace!